Okay, any questions? All right, so I just put up, just to let you know, that I put up the answers to homework 1 last time. So if you need to, some of the questions from the homework 2 are repeats of what you did last time. So people are asking, well, can I get my own homework back? So you can just, all the games are still, so you don't have to remember the games, so they're all the answers to this. And so the homework 2 is due on Thursday, and I'll give you homework 3 today. That'll be due in 9 days. We're okay with homework class? Yeah, we didn't get to it last time. Yeah. Of course you can turn it over, yeah. Any questions? Okay, so let's see. Somebody asked me a question just a second ago, which is interesting. Now let's talk about metric delivery, or sorry, weak dominance. Say that I have a situation like this. Okay, something like something at person 1's chaos. Okay, so I'm just putting person 1's chaos in my terms. Okay. Let's do this. Okay, does 1A weakly dominate or strongly dominate B?
Strongly?
Yeah, strongly why?
Because I like to be.
What is 1A strong?
One is always good.
Yeah, exactly. 1A, the gap from A is always greater than the gap from B. 6 is bigger than 1, 4 is bigger than 2, 3 is bigger than 0, 10 is bigger than minus 1, 3.01 is bigger than 2. Okay, what if I do this? Okay. Does A dominate B? No. Okay. Why not? Because of what? This last one is 2 equals, right? Now you might say, well, still, I mean, in this case, B is just a little bit better than A, so isn't generally A much better than B, so should we just be able to get rid of B? Is that okay? Why is that not okay? Yeah, exactly. So yeah, in general, 1A is much better than B, right? Right? This is what we're talking about, yeah? Okay. But this does make a difference. The reason is because, say person 2's like chaos are like this. Something like this, right? If this is the case, what is person 2 going to do? Person 2 is going to play E, right, for sure. Look at the thousands. In which case, all this stuff is irrelevant, yeah? The fact that for person 1, 6 is better than 1 doesn't matter because 2 is never going to play A. You see what I'm saying? And so the fact that we can say that 1A is just, just barely kind of, weak B dominance, almost kind of one weak dominance 1B, so therefore we should get rid of 1B. We can't do that because it is possible that a given 2's payoffs, that B might be strictly third. You first step back. Okay. Oh, somebody also asked a question about a three-person, how to find the Nash of a three-person case. So we didn't do that yet. We'll do it. Do you want to just do it now? Okay, let's do that. Let's see. Okay, so this is from the homework. Your numbers might be different from mine. GISS2, right? Okay, so this is what I got. This is the one where 1, 2, and 3 decide whether to go to restaurant A or B. One wants the inner group to be as large as possible. Okay, the 1 is the worst case to go to restaurant A. Person 2 wants to have this inner group to be as small as possible. All person 3 cares about is going to the same place as person 1. Okay, so 1 likes this where they all go to A. Can you see that in the back? Is it okay? And 1 doesn't like this one. This is where 1 goes to B and everyone else goes to A. Okay. So I think who's the opposite? 2 is the opposite. 2 wants to be alone. So 2 is happiest when 2 goes to B and 1 goes to A and 3 goes to A. That's what it is. Okay, so let's do Nash equilibrium. Okay, so how does Nash equilibrium work? Nash equilibrium is your best response given what everyone else does. Okay, so if 2 goes to A and 3 goes to A, 1 is choosing between which numbers? So 2 goes to A, 3 goes to A. So we're kind of in among these two things, right? 1's choosing between which numbers? The 10 and the 0, right? If 1 were to go to A, 1 would get 10. If 1 were to go to B, she would get 0. So she's going to get the 10. So I'm going to put a little, see if I can just highlight if thing works. Yay. Can you see that? Okay. I'd like to make it a little bigger. Okay. All right. What if 2 goes to B and 3 goes to A? What is 1's choice? 1's choosing among what? 5 and 5, right? Which is the best choice? They're both best choices. Okay. Did we do this yet with times? Maybe a little bit? If this is the best choices, what's 1's best response? Huh?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, either one's okay. Yeah, either one's the best response. They tie for first place. Okay, so we're going to put that video on there. Okay. Over here, if 2 goes to A, 1, and sorry, 2 goes to A and 3 goes to B, 1's choosing among what numbers? 5 and 5. Similarly, those tie for first place. Finally, if 2 goes to B and 3 goes to B, 1 would rather go to where? B, right? Because 1 likes to be with other people. All right. Does that make sense? That's 1's best response. That's like the star for 1. Okay. How about 2? Now I'm going to change my colors. I'll do. Oh, I should have changed. I should have. Well, should have been consistent. Okay. If 1 does A, so we're doing person 2 now. If 1 does A and 3 goes to A, 2's choosing among what numbers?
0.
The 0 and the 10. Yeah, right? Remember this second number is person 2's numbers. 1 goes to A, 3 goes to A. 2 can either go to A and get the 0, or 2 can go to B and get the 10. So 2 prefers getting the 10. And remember, 2 wants to be by herself. So if 1 and 3 are both at A, 2 would like to be at A. If 1 goes to B and 3 goes to A, 2 is choosing among what?
5.
This 5 and that 5, right? Remember, 2 is choosing the column, so 2 is choosing this 5 and 5. And which is the best response? They're both tying for first place. If 1 goes to A and 3 goes to B, 2 is choosing between 5 and 5. Okay. So I'll put the blues there. Okay. 1 goes to B and 3 goes to B. Where does 2 want to go? A, right? Get the 10. Okay, now we have to do person 3. Okay, now, if 1 goes to A and 2 goes to A, 3 can either go to A or B, right? So 3 is choosing between which numbers? This 10 and this 0. Does it make sense? Yeah? Right? Okay, so which number is bigger? 10. Oop, is that green? That works. Okay. All right. If 1 goes to A and 2 goes to B, 3 can either go to A or B. 3 goes to A, he gets 10. 3 goes to B, he gets 0. Which one does he choose? The 10. If 1 goes to B and 3 goes to A, sorry, if 1 goes to B and 2 goes to A, sorry, 3 is choosing between what? 0 and 10, so that 10. And finally, if 1 and 2 both go to B, where does 3 want to go to? What? B, right? Does that make sense? Okay, so that's the Nash equilibrium. Well, what are the Nash equilibrium? There's 2, right? There's this one, it's A, B, A. 1 goes to A, 2 goes to B, 3 goes to A. And this one is B, A, B. Does that make sense? And I guess, yeah, 1 wants to be with this. Oh, so who is the person? Oh, 3 wants to be with person 1. So, yeah, in this case, 1 and 3 go to A, and then B. Person 2 doesn't like being with other people, so 2 goes the opposite place. Here, 1 and 3 go to B, and 2 go to A. Okay, makes sense? Yeah, okay. Okay, we'll do some examples. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Or stuff? Okay. All right. Okay, so we did this. We talked about Nash equilibrium. So the first definition was a strategy profiles a Nash equilibrium if no person wants to choose some other strategy or deviate, given what everyone else does. But the alternative was, do you remember that we just did it actually? How do we think about it? What's the other definition? Or one way is a Nash equilibrium situation from which no one can gain by deviating. What's the other definition?
Best response.
Yeah, best response. A situation where everyone's best responding to everyone else. A given strategy profiles a Nash equilibrium. Each person is playing a best response, given what everyone else does. So we do this example. So this is where I introduce the stars and pluses, right? The Soviet Union arms the person. U.S. is choosing person 1 is between -5 and -10. -5 is better than -10. The Soviet Union doesn't arm. The U.S. would rather choose a 10 over the 0. Okay. We use the star for person 1, so the U.S. is best response. The plus is the Soviet Union's best response. And the Nash equilibria are simply those with both the star and the plus. And we did this example too. I think we did this at the end of last time, yeah? Did you guys, are you guys getting the homework to work out? And then you can do this, Will? Okay. All right. In this case, the Nash equilibrium is 1 being. Okay. Oh, let's do this. Did we do this? I don't think so. Let's do this. We're getting presents. Let's find the Nash equilibrium. This is the presence dilemma, right? Okay. So if Beatrice doesn't give a present, what's Arnold's best response? Arnold's choosing between 0 and -1, right? To not, right? So should I use underlines or stars? What do you want to do? Underlines. Okay. All right. If Beatrice gives, what's Arnold's best response? To not give. Okay. Now let's do Beatrice. If Arnold doesn't give, Beatrice's best response. Beatrice is choosing between the 0 and the -1. Beatrice's best response is to not give, or we get the 0. If Arnold gives, Beatrice's best response is to also not give. Well, that's interesting. Why is Beatrice's best response to always not give? Yeah.
That value's always higher.
Yeah, the value's always high, but we have a name for that too, right?
Strong
Yeah, strong dominates, right? If Beatrice, this dominates this, of course, this will never be a best response, right? Yeah. Okay. This number's always. All right. So the Nash equilibrium is what?
0, 0.
Yeah, 0, 0 with a total. Okay. How about this one? This is the strictly ballroom one. Okay. This is the Nash equilibrium here. Is it kind of warm in here again? A little warm. You can open the windows, they're openable. Don't ask me how I know that. Okay. You want to open them? I don't know. Are you guys okay? You're in the back, you're not hot. Maybe because you're close to the window. Could you open up just a little bit? Thank you. I think it's openable. Good. Is it not? Don't worry about it then, it's not. Thank you. Okay, we'll just suffer it. All right. Let's do Doug's best response. If Rika and Yaya's clap, what does Doug want to do? Clap. 10's better than 5, right? So you see, a lot of this is just remembering which number. If Rico and Yaya don't, what's Doug's best response? Clap, because 5 is better than 0. And a lot of this is just remembering it's the red numbers for Doug. It's not the blue numbers, okay? Yeah. The red numbers. Okay. Oh, why is Doug always want to clap? Yeah, what's the... Remember, so for Doug not clapping is never a best response. Why is that?
He likes his son.
Huh?
He likes his son.
He likes his son. He's a good dad. What else do you want to know? In terms of the king there, what did he say? Yeah, clapping strongly dominates on clapping. Doug wants to clap regardless. Well, how about Rico and Yaya? Okay, if Doug claps, what does Rico and Yaya want to do? Clap. 10's better than 5. If Doug doesn't clap, what does Rico and Yaya want to do? No, they want to not clap. Okay. Does Rico and Yaya, do they have a dominated strategy? No, right? They're a little, again, they're not quite as out there as Doug, right? If Doug doesn't clap, they're not going to clap. They want to be doing this. Oh, if Doug claps, if you want. Okay, what's the Nash equilibrium? Clap. Oh, let's do a Prada-Gucci one. Okay, this is a 3-person one. We just did one, but let's do another one. Okay, so let's see. We'll do Anne's best response first. If Bob does Gucci and Cindy does Gucci, Anne is choosing between what? -1 and 1. What's the best response? 1. And this is the one where Anne always likes Prada, right?
Yeah.
So we're just going to we'll just underline all Anne's ones. That's right. She has a dumb strategy. It feels like the heat is on or something.
It's at 80. It's set at 80. That's why.
Oh, somebody's changing. Okay, let's try that. Okay. Do you know how much heat a person produces? A human being produces about 100 watts of heat, which is actually a lot. Yeah. Like if you had 20 people together, that's like a toaster. Right? Okay, how about Bob's best response? If Anne does Gucci and Cindy does Gucci, Bob is choosing between what? So if Anne does Gucci, Cindy does Gucci, Bob does Gucci, Bob gets the 1. If Bob does Prada, Bob gets what? -1, right? So Bob is choosing between these two numbers, yeah? Which is bigger? 1, so we'll have to like that. Okay, if Anne does Prada and Cindy does Gucci, Bob wants to do what? Bob, 1's better than -1. I think Bob just wants to imitate Anne, right? If Anne does Gucci, Cindy does Prada, Bob is choosing between Gucci and Prada. Bob wants the 1. If Anne does Prada and Cindy does Prada, Bob wants to do Prada. 1's better than -1. Okay, finally we'll do Cindy. If Anne does Gucci and Bob does Gucci, Cindy's choosing between Gucci and Prada. If she does Gucci, she gets a -2. If she gets Prada, she gets 1. So what will she choose? 1. She will choose Prada and get the 1. Okay, if Anne does Gucci and Bob does Prada, Cindy's choosing between Gucci and Prada. She'll get -1 either way. What's the best response? Yeah, neither or either. Both the bet time for first place. Van does Prada, Bob does Gucci. What does Cindy want to do? Cindy's choosing between -1 and -1. Okay, and the best response is either one. Oops. And finally, if Van does Prada and Bob does Prada, Cindy will do what? Gucci, right? Cindy doesn't like everybody else. She wants to be different. She chooses a 1 over the -2. Okay, so what are the Nash equilibria? This one, right? Is that it? That's it, yeah, right. Exactly, yeah.
For the given presence example,
Uh-huh.
after you eliminate the strongly and weakly dominated strategies,
Right.
is that result always going to be the Nash equilibria?
We'll talk about it in a second, but yeah, so if you get rid of everything with strong domination, you only have left one thing, that will be a Nash equilibrium. Okay. The other thing is true is, if you have Nash equilibria, they will never be eliminated by the strong elimination of strongly dominated strategies. However, if you do weakly dominated strategies, you might get rid of the Nash equilibrium. So that's also possible. So, yeah.
Is there only one Nash equilibrium in the strict ballroom?
Let's check. Okay, let's go back. Okay, so this was the presence one. Yeah, so in this case, we were able to eliminate this and we got this. Yeah, then that would be an equilibrium. Okay, and you're saying in strictly ballroom. This one. Yeah, there is, okay, yeah, we can solve this also through elimination of strongly dominated strategies, right? So we got rid of this, then we got rid of this, right? And the result would be a Nash equilibrium. Okay,
So if we do weakly dominate, like
Uh-huh.
iteratively, do we have, it's okay if we get rid of one of the Nash equilibriums, or do we need to do it two different ways to where we have all of the Nash equilibriums there?
So, yeah, so one of the problems with iterative elimination of weakly dominant strategies is the order matters. And sometimes you'll get rid of some Nash equilibriums, sometimes you won't. So because of this reason, some people don't like iterative elimination of weakly dominated strategies because of this kind of thing. Because it sometimes gets rid of Nash equilibrium, and also because it's arbitrary. But it's okay. We'll talk about it in examples. It's sort of a judgment call. There's a question.
Can you give an example of a iteratively dominated, or how to do for a three-person table?
Oh yeah, we did it before, I think. We can do it again. Well, let's see. Shall I do it? Where's my Prada? Here it is. Okay. Shall I get rid of the underlines, or let's see? Let's just go with it. Okay, so is there anything we just dominated? First check. I think for and Prada dominates Gucci, right? Yeah, because one's better than -1, one's better than -1, one's better than -1, one's better than -1. Okay? So that's that. Then so we'll get rid of that stuff. Boom. Okay, so we got rid of that. Now what's the next step? Can we eliminate something? I think we can. Bob, right? Bob, in this case, so one's better than -1 and one's better than -1, right? Bob in this game will never play Gucci, right? Pawn is always better. Okay, so therefore, we will get rid of this. And finally, what is Cindy going to do here? Gucci, right? Okay, so in this case, yeah, it's perfect. Any questions? Okay, all right. Let's go on ahead. Okay. Okay, how do we write down a strategic form game? First step is what? Players. Second step is options. Third step is chaos. The fourth step is make a prediction. And now, how many ways we have to make a prediction? We have 2 ways. Two. What's the first way? Yeah, the iterative elimination of dominated strategies, either strongly or weakly. Okay. And the second method is prediction. So we have 2 methods. All right. Oh, this is David Phillips. This is from David Phillips. On the Thursday last week, I forgot to take the homework back, so they were all sitting in the classroom. Everyone's home in the entire class. But he's heroically saved them, and he gave me. He jokingly said he would. I would have to offer him a bribe. Get the homework back. So anyway, so thanks, David Phillips. This is his example. He said he can either return the homeworks or don't. Not return them. I can either give the bribe or not bribe. Okay. So let's find the Nash equilibrium. Oh, is there anything dominated? Yeah, what's dominated? Yeah, I think give bribe is dominated by bribe. Sorry, hold on. Yeah, give bribe is dominated by don't bribe, right? 100 better than -100, -500 better than -500. Yeah, in this case. Okay, so I guess I would never bribe, and therefore what's he gonna do? Not return. He did give them to me, your homeworks are safe, don't worry. Let's just find the Nash equilibrium. If I gave the bribe, what is David gonna do? Return the homeworks. If I don't give a bribe, what is David gonna do? Not return. That makes sense, I guess. Okay, if he returns the homework, what should I do? Not bribe, that makes sense, right? If he returns them, why should I bribe? Okay, if he doesn't return the homework, then what? Should I bribe? No, I should also, there's no point in bribing if he doesn't give it back, so. What's the Nash equilibrium here?
Don't bribe.
Yeah. Don't bribe, don't bribe. Don't return it. How about a protest against the regime? That's the Berlin Wall falling down. No, so that's in Berlin, that's the Grabbing Brigade, I think. Okay, if everyone protests, the regime falls, but protesting alone is dangerous. We talked about this a little bit. Okay, so how do I model this? Okay, one person can protest or not, right?
Two players.
Huh?
Two
Two players, yeah, exactly. I did something like this, and this is kind of what I did. Okay, person one can protest, person two protests. If they both protest, they both get high payouts. If they both stay at home, they kind of get nothing. If you stay home and I protest, then I get shot at, I get -5. Okay? And you are happy because you get to stay home, just watch me get shot on TV. If I stay home, I'm okay with you get arrested. Okay. All right, what are the Nash equilibria of this game? Oh, is there anything dominating? It is for person one, does protest dominate staying at home?
Yes.
Hold on. 10 is better than 0, however, -5 is worse than 0, right? So it's not like I'm always going to protest, right? I'm only going to protest if somebody else is going to be there too. Yeah? I definitely do not want to be the only person protesting. So we don't have any dominance. Let's look at Nash equilibrium. Okay. If person 2 protests, what is person 1 going to do? Protest, yeah? Because I want to be. Remember, is this a prisoner's dilemma? No, right? In the prisoner's dilemma, if the other person participates, what do you want to do? You want to not participate, right? This is different. If the other person participates, you actually do want to participate. Yeah.
Isn't this a cooperative, the dancing, right? It's a cooperative game?
You mean like the Strictly Ballroom one here?
Yeah.
Okay, not quite, okay, because in Strictly Ballroom, remember Doug has a dominant strategy, right? So here neither person has a dominant strategy. Here, that's a good point. Here everyone is like Rico and Yara, right? They want to do it only if other people do that.
Oh, okay.
In the Strictly Ballroom case, there's one person who's willing to do it regardless. Yeah. Okay. If person 2 stays home, what does one want to do? Stay home also? Okay. What if person 1 protests? What does person 2 want to do? Protest. This 10 is better than 0. This blue 10 is better than 0. If person 1 stays home, what does person 2 want to do? Stay home, because 0 is better than -5.
Wait, why did you say that 0 is better than 0?
Sorry, what?
Why'd we, for the lower level of the red one, why do we say that 0 is better?
What is it?
Because you underline that 0, but the other one's 0 too.
Yeah, I'm going to outline. Yeah, it's, okay, yeah, person 2 will bring this 0, this -5. So person 0 is better than -5. Yeah, I'm going to underline that. Oh, I haven't underlined it yet. All right. Okay. What are the Nash equilibria? They're both protest or both not. Both protest or both stay. All right. Now, you might ask, so these are the 2 Nash equilibria. You might ask, well, say they're both staying home. Why don't they both deviate, they both call each other and say, hey, let's both learn this protest. And they both get 10 instead of 0, 0. Okay? Why don't they do that? Do they want to do that?
No.
Why not?
Yes. No.
Uh-oh, let's solve, let's resolve using violence, yeah. But-
I was gonna say, maybe there's some external psychological or belief values that don't play into probation.
Okay, yeah. We can, yeah, but what is this, so why do you think it's no?
Because if you stay at home, I don't want to protest.
Oh, you're saying that we can't necessarily go from here to here, you're saying, right?
Yeah.
You might kind of end up here somehow, and we're still worried about that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's like, how do I really know you're gonna do that? Right? So what's on the yes side? Yeah.
Both have a reason to protest because it is the higher value. I'm thinking back to Deborah's topic.
Yeah.
That since they're guaranteed a 10 there, if they're both able to coordinate, why would they not work to get the highest value and actually achieve their cause?
Right. Okay, all right, so you actually, these are all good respects, also psychological makes sense too, which is, okay, so yes, if they could be, like, if they could go in lockstep, like, so they're actually, I'd say, do you want to go to the protest? He said, yeah, I want to go to the protest. He'd like, kind of literally hold hands and go to the protest. And so you never, do this, then you would definitely want to go, right? There's no problem. It's not like a prisoner's dilemma, it's not like your friend wants to leave. If you're there, your friend wants to be there, yeah? However, there is this issue, which is like, well, do I really know that you're going to show up, right? And I really want to avoid the -5. And so, and there's a psychological thing there too, which is like, how, I have to get into your head a little bit, like, how do I really know you're going to show up? Yeah? Okay, so the idea is that it is true that both people can want to move from here to here, okay? However, this is still a Nash equilibrium because, just technically, Nash equilibrium only considers individual, not group deviations. Okay, so you might say, well, this is stable because person 1 doesn't want to deviate and get -5. Person 2 doesn't want to deviate and get -5. So this is a Nash equilibrium. If we make this prediction, it will hold. If the newspapers all say no one's showing up to protest, everyone says, oh, okay, no one's showing up to protest, so I'm not going to protest. Okay, so that is a stable situation. It's a Nash equilibrium because Nash equilibrium considers only individual, not group deviations. Okay? If it is true that they can move as a group to here, but group deviations are not part of the definition. Does that make sense? Okay, so sometimes when I teach this, people say, hey, this doesn't make sense because they get both moved to here. Okay. But in the definition, Nash equilibrium only considers individual, not group deviations. Does that make sense? Let's talk about our third big question. This is kind of related to this. Why is it difficult to overthrow a regime even if it is widely hated? So like back in the days of the Eastern Europe, Slovenia, people said, there are all these, there are still lots of dictatorial regimes out there. Why do they still exist? Why, people are like complaining. Everyone complains in Eastern Germany, like saying, why do we have to live like this? Everyone's complaining, blah, 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 blah. And you have to say, well, why don't they just overthrow the government? Why don't they do that? Yeah. Other way, yeah.
Okay. Well, like in the Stanley Milgram experiment, where you're supposed to administer a shock to someone else in the other room, it shows through the experiment that although the people are under immense emotional and physical strain as they're sweating, they're banging on the table, they keep diminishing the shock because of the authority figures in the room.
Oh, I see.
So people are more willing to look towards authority. Because it also takes either responsibility off themselves, and people are just more willing to follow that. But when the authority figure wasn't in the room, it improved the chance that they'd stop with the experiment. When he was there, they kept diminishing the shock.
So you're saying authorities is very powerful, you're
Yeah.
saying? Okay, yeah.
One, the threat of failing a regime is very, very high.
Right.
Punishment. And then two, however, sometimes these people are actually beneficial living under the regime because after a regime, there is a form of needing of a democracy which requires enforcement of policy, courts, and laws. And sometimes these people are so happy to be without the regime that unfortunately there's a lack of structure. Which they end up doing.
Sure, there's a lot of answers, yeah.
It's more of a coordination thing.
Yeah.
It takes everyone to overthrow it, so they all have to get together and decide to.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll get shot.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's scary.
Yeah, exactly.
Couldn't it also be a problem of because there's been a vacuum because of a powerful regime, there's no one to take over that vacuum, so you would overthrow, but then who would come into power?
Right.
In
Yeah,
place
sure,
of
exactly.
it? So
Right.
that's no problem.
We'll go back here. No? No? Okay, yeah.
The cost of failure or even of success outweighs the probable benefits.
Right. It's still constant. There's still something back here, no? Maybe something like that? Okay. Yeah, these are all reasonable things. So, authority's powerful. This thing about backing up power is kind of like the coordination one, right? It's like we all need to agree on what we're going to coordinate to, so it's hard to make that happen sometimes. Okay, so the way I answer this question, which is game theory related, is kind of like your answer, okay, which is like, this is my game here. Okay, remember we have protest. This is one national equilibrium. This is one national equilibrium. Okay, so in a dictatorial regime, okay, even if you can get rid of this authority, this mentality kind of thing, like everyone says, geez, we'd all be happier if we can get rid of, this dictator or something. Okay? We'd all be happier. There's no issue about that. Everyone's happier. Okay, however, it's still an issue going from 0, 0 to 10, 10. Why is that? Because everyone has to kind of move together, right? Everyone has to like literally hold hands. Like, so it's easy with 2 people, but for 1 million people it's hard, right? Yeah? Okay, so it's kind of that kind of thing where everyone has to count on everyone else. That's like a coordination issue. Okay, so everyone hates the regime, but it's not easy to get everyone to push off all at once. That is, can still be stable, even though everybody would be happy if they got rid of the regime. It's not necessarily easy to move from here. So sometimes people say, like, you go to you're driving through some neighborhood and you see a lot of garbage on the street, and you think, boy, people here just don't care that much about clean streets. Maybe they like garbage. Does that make sense? Does it make sense to you? What's wrong with that? Would you agree with that reasoning? No, what could be happening? Yeah.
Like the garbage can be getting pumped into like the street from somewhere else, like not even people that live there.
Oh, that's true. That's interesting. That's possible. How would this work in this game? I'm thinking about this. Yeah. It could be the situation that each person, everyone would like to have a clean street, right? But what? Yeah.
No one wants to be the only idiot cleaning the street.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. I'll be willing to do my share if everyone else does, but we're just in one of these bad equilibrium situations. Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever been to, this is the other name for this is the roommates of the refrigerator situation. Right. We'd all be happy if we have this a clean refrigerator. However, I don't want to be the only schmuck in a clean refrigerator all the time. Make sense? And if we all do it together, we'll be happy. But we just have to get like a little group or a little room meeting or apartment meeting and say, hey, we didn't refrigerator. All right. This is another example. This is a battle of the sexes. What are the national equilibria here? You want to do the underlines? Okay, BB goes to the prize fight. 2, right? BB goes to the opera. What does Asha want to go to? Okay. Also, I forgot to give a little story here. So this is, the idea is that each person can either go to the prize fight or opera. They would like to prefer, like you be together with somebody else. Okay. However, Asha would prefer to go to the prize fight, whereas BB would prefer to go. Okay. If Asha goes to the prize fight, what's BB's best response? Prize fight, 1's better than 0. If Asha goes to the opera, where does BB want to go to? Opera also. Okay. What are the Nash equilibria? Price fight, and opera. Okay. Now this makes sense. There are 2 Nash equilibria, they're both happy, but do they agree on which Nash equilibrium is better in some sense? No, right? So a Nash equilibrium can be kind of unfair, right? This Nash equilibrium is kind of favors Asha, this one favors BB. Make sense? Yeah.
Are you going to show an example of iteratively eliminating predominant strategies?
Yeah, you will. Yeah.
So this, you could think of it as they're cooperating, they could make it a repeat game where one time Asha wins and the next time Yubi gets to win.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
Sort of
Yeah, that's a good point. You could make it so that like there's a third option, like, share or something like that. Yeah, you could do that. All right, any questions? Okay, so this is, remember this was different. Here there's 2 Nash equilibria, and they both agree on which is better. Okay, in this coordination problem. In this case, there's two Nash equilibria, but they disagree on which is right. What about times? And this is kind of related to what you're talking about. Okay, well, how about this? Okay, if person 2 does A, what's 1's best response? 8 or 8, right? If person 2 does B, what's 1's best response? 5, right? Okay, now let's see if 2's best response. If 1 does A, what's 2's best response? A, right? If 1 does B, what is 2's best response? Either 1, 6 and 6. So what are the Nash equilibria? Well, this one, this one, this one, they're 3, right? Okay, so in this case, we also have 3 Nash equilibria. And so if there's a time for person 2, for example, person 2 is A, 1 can either choose A or A. That is time for first place. Okay, does this make sense?
So in this game, you could eliminate 1A to B because everybody gains doing something other than that.
You're saying that I should eliminate this?
No, the top one.
This one?
No, the top one on the other side.
This guy?
1A to B, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, so it's not an issue. You said, is that up there? Yeah, you can say this would never happen.
Neither one of them
Exactly.
would choose that.
Right. Yeah.
Clarify, you just said the tie would be 1B2A, 1B2A, but that's more from the better one perspective.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah, okay, so they're saying maybe person 1, so person 1's within the 8 and the 8, which is a tie. Why doesn't person 1 think, it's all the same for person 1. Why doesn't person 1 be nice to person 2 and choose B? That way person 2 will get the 6. Right? Does that make sense? Okay.
Well, I mean, it would be a tie for 2A, 2B, with 1B, and then be a tie for 1A, 1B. I was just clarifying the term tie.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right.
It's a tie for person 1.
Right.
But let me just give my little story. Okay. You might say, what does person 1 say? I'm going to do B because it's all the same to me. I'll help person 2 out and give person 2 6. Yeah. And the reason why we don't do that is because if that's in there, then this 8 should be like 8.1 or something, right? All person 1's motivation should be reflected in 1's payout. So if 1 likes person 2 and wants to help out person 2, we should put that in person 1's payout. Yeah.
So if you solve this iteratively,
Yeah.
You would get rid of 1A and 2B and be left with 2A, 1B, with
Right.
the 8 and the 6.
Right.
So on the homework, if this was on the homework, would we put 2A, 1B as an answer and then also the Nash equilibrium?
Yeah, so by the definition, there are 3 Nash equilibria. However, 1A is in fact dominated weakly by 1B.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. So there is a conflict sometimes between these 2 methods. And this is exactly that thing.
I'm just having trouble figuring out how to express that in an answer. Would we just literally write 1A is weakly dominated by 1B, and that would be the answer?
Yeah, okay, so, all right, so this is a Nash equilibrium, that's clear, right?
Yeah.
So that's just the definition, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, how would if I asked you to solve this by unit of elimination weakly dominated strategies, what would you do? You'd say, 1B weakly dominates 1A. Erase this, and then I'm just left with the bottom bit, and then there's a toss at the end.
Okay.
Okay, so there's another thing I could do, which is what? Yeah.
You get 2A weakly dominated.
Yeah, I could also weakly dominate, get rid of this, and then, well, what else, after that, what could I do?
Then you could eliminate.
Then there's a tie there, right? So that's a case where the order of elimination is arbitrary, right? Yeah.
Okay, so that was my question. Our TA said that we have to do it from both views. So for question 1, or the first one on the homework, that
Right.
takes forever because you have it's a more complicated table.
Right.
So on a test, would you want us to do from player 1's perspective and then again from player 2's perspective so that we get all of the Nash equilibria?
Okay.
Or do you want us to just do it one way and that's fine?
Oh, okay, so sometimes we'll ask things like, okay, first of all, eliminating strongly dominated strategies is always safe, right? You never get a Nash equilibrium, and the order issue is never a problem. Okay, that's fine. The only issue is weak dominance. Okay, so sometimes I might ask you, use weak domination as much as possible to eliminate as much as possible. In which case, then you just try to be really aggressive. Okay? And you would try to do as much as you could, yeah. But no homework and stuff, it's just something like, if I asked you to do that, you could just do something. Just be really clear about what your order is. So you can say, first I'm eliminating this, and then I'm eliminating that, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Okay.
And then you don't have to consider every single possible order of doing it, yeah.
Because I didn't.
Yeah, yeah, okay, sure, yeah.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay, for my homework, I've been like, I don't wanna like put like a huge messy table with like everything crossed
Right,
out,
right,
so
right.
I've been doing like 1A, like arrow, 1B, and then, so that means it dominates it, and
Yeah.
then a prediction, and then listing the natural.
That's fine, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Okay. All right. Any questions? Let's see, I think we talked about that. We have two methods of making a prediction as you form game. Iterative elimination of strong and weakly dominated strategies, and the next one was what? Nash equilibrium. Okay. Can they conflict?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The answer is yes, they actually can. They never conflict for strong, but sometimes for weak, so you just have to be a little careful. So when you iteratively eliminate strongly dominated strategies, you never eliminate Nash equilibrium. Okay? They're always safe. So get rid of strongly dominated strategies to your heart's content, it's always safe, so to speak. Eliminate strongly dominated strategies, it's always safe. However, when you iteratively eliminate weakly dominated strategies, sometimes you do eliminate Nash equilibrium, like an example we just did. And in the homework, there are some examples of that too. So you just have to be careful. So, if, for example, if I ask you in an exam to find all Nash equilibria, you have to look for all of them. Yeah. Okay. So you just need to look. Okay, so there's two methods of making a prediction, and we have a conflict. Sometimes people actually don't like, some people don't like iterative elimination of weakly dominated strategies for this reason. They prefer this. Okay. So some people, so the other thing is that the order arbitrariness, some people really don't like that either. So some game theorists don't like that. So so it's sort of a judgment thing. So sometimes it makes perfect sense to get rid of weakly dominated strategies, but sometimes you do have kind of weird issues. So just be okay. All right. So we just talked about this. When we had dominance, right? And we have these three Nash equilibria. However, for person 1B weakly dominates 1A. So this is a Nash equilibrium. However, in this Nash equilibrium, person 1 is playing a weakly dominated strategy. Okay? So there is a conflict. This is an okay prediction from the point of view of Nash equilibrium. However, it conflicts with the idea that 1B weakly dominates 1A. Makes sense? So you just figure. All right. Yeah.
So in the comments on the homework where you were supposed to do both,
Yeah.
is it better to do like the Nash equilibrium first and then?
Yeah. You can do it that way. I mean, again, strong dominance is always good. Get rid of that. That simplifies things. Yeah, if you're asked to find all Nash equilibria, you really have to check. Any questions? Okay. We haven't done a little movie thing yet, so let's do that. Oh, this is, let's see. Yay. Let's see.
Oh, where's my thing?
Shuffle your papers for 5 seconds.
I'm not by you gentlemen here. Oh, we're not here for beer, my friend. Oh. Can I announce this? You moving in slow motion. Does she want a large wedding, you think?
Should we say swords, gentlemen? Pistols at dawn.
You remembered nothing. Recall the lessons of Adam Smith, father of modern economics.
In the competition, individual ambition serves the common good.
Exactly.
Every man for himself, gentlemen.
Yeah, and those who strike out are still with their friends. I'm not going to strike out.
You can leave a blonde a lot of it. You can't even drink.
I don't think so.
Alright, let me look. She's looking over there. She's looking at Nash.
All right, you may have the upper hand now. We wait till the open his mouth. Let's go. Adam Smith needs revision. What are you talking about? We will go for the blonde. We block each other. Not a single one of us is going to get her. So then we go for her friends. But they will all give us the cold shoulder because nobody likes to be second choice. But what if no one goes for the blonde? We don't get in each other's way. And we don't insult the other girls. That's the only way we win.
Okay. All right. Okay, let's try to model this. Okay. Okay, so how do I want to model this? This is a famous movie. Everyone knows who John Nash is from this movie. Okay. Who are the players?
The guys?
The guys. Because how many guys do you want to put in there? Four? Let's just make it simple. Just two. Okay. What are their actions?
Go for the blonde or go for their.
Blonde or brunette? Blonde, brunette. Okay, here we go. One invites blonde, one invites brunette. Two invites blonde, two invites brunette. Let's fill in the chaos. Okay, how about here? What if they both go for blonde? What if they both go for blonde?
0, 0, or minus
Huh?
1.
This is where they kind of blow up. This is not so good. I guess they block each other, right? What if they both go for the brunette?
They both win.
Or brunettes, the friends. They both win. What do you want to? They both win. What is it? What count comes in there? Huh?
Assuming the women consent.
Okay, what payoffs are there? Huh? Two? Two. Okay. This is where where one invites blonde and two invites brunette.
They're both winners there too.
Huh? Is this
Who
here?
gets the blonde? The blonde's the higher value.
Okay, so the, yeah.
Like 10 pounds.
Okay, this is going to be 10. 10 2. Does that make sense? I guess the assumption is the blonde's more attractive or something.
Yeah.
I know, does that make sense to the thing? All right. If one invites brunette, two invites blonde, what happens here? 2. 10? Something like this? For you?
Wouldn't 2 be, or in this case, wouldn't 1 be kind of upset that 2 got blocked?
Oh, okay, yeah. So you're saying she should be lower than 2?
Yeah.
Should be like, what, like 1? You don't think that 1 will be happy that that 2? Or something? 1 is happy for his friend or something. Okay. This is like beautiful mind with envy. All right. Okay, does it make sense? Now let's see. Well, what are the Nash equilibria? Let's find out. If 2 invites blonde, what does 1 want to do? Invite brunette, right? Because they don't want to block each other, right? If 2 invites brunette, what does 1 want to do? Invite blonde. Because 10 is better than 2. If 1 invites blonde, what does 2 want to do? Invite brunette. If 1 invites brunette, what does 2 want to do? Invite blonde. What are the Nash equilibria of this game? Here and here, right? So does that little clip make sense as an explanation of what Nash did? What does Nash say is going to happen? In the clip. This is like the Hollywood producer version of game theory. They both go for brunette, right? And both going for the brunette is better than they both go than if they both go for the blonde, right? Yeah.
What if 4 guys, 4 girls?
So okay, yeah, that's true.
So would it be 4 guys, 5 girls?
Okay, so how would that change things?
A lot.
What do you say? How would it change things, you think?
You have to add like a lot more Nash equilibria.
Yeah, okay. We could. You want to do that at home? We could. I'll do it at home. I don't think it'll change that much. Well, let's just think about it. Yeah, go ahead.
If you add multiple players, this becomes a hunting game where the tribe's out hunting and it's for the good of the whole tribe and it's tags. Like then there's that one player or two who might go after the rabbit and abandon you guys because he wants a 10 instead of a share.
It's a little bit different than that too. That actually is like the protest thing. If we both go for the rabbit, we all wanted the rabbit, but we'd all gotta go for the stag. And this is still different from that too. Because, well, one of the differences is that, what are the national pick in this game? We just said it. This one and this one, right?
Why not 2-2?
Huh?
Why not 2-2?
That's a good question. The clip said that this is what would happen, right?
Yeah.
The clip said this is better than this. Adam's needs revision. However, will this actually occur? That's interesting. Is this a national equilibrium? Why would this not occur?
I mean, probably wouldn't occur because, as she said,
Right.
because everybody thinks that everyone's going to go to the brunettes, everyone would just go to the blonde.
Exactly right. This is not a national equilibrium. One would deviate to here. You get a 10 instead of 2. Makes sense? Yeah. So I think in the 4% case it would still work out, right? In the clip they said national, they would all go for the brunettes, but still, would anybody, if you did a 4% game, would brunette be a national equilibrium? You did a 4% game. Five girls, 4 guys. They're all heterosexual. Okay. Brunette. Okay, would that be a national equilibrium? No, because what?
These guys aren't cooperative.
No, just use the definition of national equilibrium. Would that be a national equilibrium for everybody to go for that?
Because one person would deviate and go for the blonde.
Yeah, exactly. One would deviate for the one. So I think that would be the case. Even okay. So, did you learn game theory from watching this movie? No, you learned the wrong thing. Okay? Nash equilibrium is not, so you'll not learn game theory from watching that movie. You'll learn a lot about Nash, right? But you won't learn much game theory. Okay? Makes sense? Both going for brunette is better than for both, and both going for blonde. However, that's not a Nash equilibrium. Is this a person's dilemma?
Yes.
Yes? No, right? The person's dilemma, why is it different? The person's dilemma, what?
You just see your best result.
Yeah, exactly. But in terms of technical stuff, which we, in a person's dilemma, we have what? Yeah, exactly. In a person's dilemma, we have a strongly dominated strategy, right? You never want to ever bring a presence, right? So, do I have a strongly dominated strategy here? No. So this is not a person's dilemma. Is it a coordination game like Conquest? No, right? We have seen this game before, and it is chicken. Right? It is chicken, right? This is kind of like both going straight. Okay? This is both swerving. If you swerve, then I want this, right? Okay? So this is exact relation. Okay? Make sense? All right. Okay, so another big question. How can a single person create large social change? So I tell the story all the time. I think in 1991, I visited Taiwan and Taipei. And question. Okay, so you go to there's these night markets in Taipei where you get great food. You know what I'm talking about? Have you ever been to these night markets in Taipei? Surely somebody has been to these places. It's really amazing. If you go there, you have to go to these places. It's great. You can get eel and frogs and all sorts of crazy stuff. Anyway, so the night market, there's this guy with this sign. This night market, 1991, this sign. I asked my friend, who is that guy? And she said, that guy's famous. And I said, how's he famous? She said, that sign says, I have AIDS. So this guy was the first guy in all of Taiwan to say publicly he has AIDS. Okay? That's all he is. He just has a sign that says, I have AIDS.
Yeah.
What's the point of that?
You're perceiving.
What good does that do?
Motivates others to like come forward with their disease and like not feel like they're alone in that sense.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. How could a single person change something? Well, that person, what? Makes it easier for what? Exactly, like a second person, right? I used to also tell the story about the first, who would be the first openly gay person in the NFL. Okay? You know who the first openly gay person was? They were in it for like 2 weeks. You know what I'm talking about? This guy, Michael Sam. Yeah. So he was at the University of Missouri, and he's in the NFL for a little while. He was the first openly gay player. It was interesting that a lot of people thought the first openly gay player would be like a really well-known kind of person with lots of contracts, so they'd be sort of protected. But actually, since the most courageous person was actually a young person who just started being. So that's pretty impressive. Okay, anyway. How can a single person create large social change? Oh, who's that? Rosa Parks. That's hilarious. People tell the story about, they know the whole story. Okay, but actually it turns out it's not true. Rosa Parks, she had a whole organization behind her. It was like organized from the very beginning. Okay, it wasn't like people said, "Oh, Rosa Parks, you got people bus there for all of them." No, she was actually. They had the whole the campaign already. They had flyers and all that. So she was actually a movement leader. She just wasn't a random person. She was an actress. Yeah.
That kind of gets to the other big question about like how to like overthrow a regime. Like you can't do it alone. Like in that case, she had someone behind
Yeah, exactly. Right on. Exactly.
So.
Each person needs to be kind of confident. Other people will go back. Exactly. Right. Yeah.
I wonder about calling her a leader, because wasn't she chosen for the position?
There were actually a lot of people who were kicked off buses before. This whole, in Montgomery, there were a lot of, there's a women's action committee which had been working on this for a long time before. And so there was even a woman named Claudette Colvin. Do you know what I'm talking about a little bit? It's the whole backstory of it. So she was like a 16-year-old girl or 17-year-old who was kicked out, but they thought she was not upstanding enough to build a campaign around. And then when Rosa Parks was kicked off, they said, well, she's upstanding enough. They built a campaign and they went after it. Okay. So Martin Luther King got involved at this point. You know, it was very interesting why. The reason was because none of the other ministers wanted to be involved in it because they were too conservative. So Martin Luther King, the women wanted to have obviously some support from the religious leadership and male leadership. But they let Martin Luther King do it because he was the youngest and he was the lowest in the totem pole, so they decided to. So, anyway. All right. How can a single person create large social change? Okay, so this is my social protest example. If I stay at home, I get a 0. If we both protest, we get 10. However, if I'm the only person who protests, I get this 8 minus 100. Okay, go in jail or shot at or something. Okay? There's a risk. Okay, what are the Nash equilibria in this game?
10-10.
Okay, do you want me to calculate it? Give them the thing. 10, 10, and 1. And 0, 0, right? We did this already. This is one Nash equilibrium. This is 1. If we're here, no one can gain by deviating. If you're home. Do you want me to do the underlines? Are you okay? Yeah?
So this is a scenario where you really can't protest unless you do it in a
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, should I do the underlines? I'll do it just for the sake of the notes. Okay, whoops. Okay, person 2 protests. 1's choosing 10 and 0, so I'm going to underline the 10. Person 2 stays home. Oops, oh, shucks. I did the wrong thing. This is the one I'm doing. Person 2 does protests, so I'm going to underline that. Then I'm underlining the 0, right? Person 1 protests, I'm underlining the 10. Person 1 stays home, I'm underlining the 0. Okay. All right. So like we said before, the issue of any organizer is how to move from year to year. How do I move from the home equilibrium to the protest? Okay, say person 1 gets courageous or reckless. Her negative 100 changes to 1. So I have the same game. Before this is a minus 100. Now I make it a 1. Okay, so now this person doesn't really feel fear anymore. Okay? Person 1 actually wants to do it. You know what changes? What are the Nash equilibria of this game? Okay, let's do the underlines. If person 2 protests, what does 1 want to do? 10 or 0? 10, right? If person 2 stays at home, what does 1 want to do? Stay at home, right? 1 is better than 0. Before it was a minus 100, and now it's a 1, so we underline the 1. Person 1 protests, what is 2 going to do? Protest. 10 is better than 0. Person 1 stays home, what is 2 going to do? Stay at home. Now what are the Nash equilibria of this game? Just protest. What happened to this one? It changed, right? It went away, right? There's only one Nash equilibrium. Okay, so before I had a situation where we had 2 Nash equilibria, now I just have 1. Okay. Did I have to change both people to make that happen? No. I only had to change one person. Right? Why did I only have to change one person's payoffs? Why do I only have to make one person more courageous? Yeah.
Because once that one person starts protesting, person 2 knows that that's going to happen, so then their choices now being decided between 10 or 0,
Yeah.
and they're more likely to choose the 10.
Exactly.
Following this.
Exactly. Here's over here. Yeah. Okay, yeah. I only have to change one person because once one person goes, the other person is going to join in. Yeah. I don't have to make. Not everybody has to be courageous. All it needs is just one person in this case. So to make protest, the only national would be only one person. Okay. So literally, you're that person with a sign that can make a difference. Okay. How about another change? This is my original game. Now say that person one gets sick and tired of staying at home. So she doesn't get courageous, but what she does is she gets really, really sick and tired of doing nothing. So this before was 0, now it's minus 101. Let's do the national equilibrium of this game. The person 2 protests, what's one's best response? This is 10. Person 2 stays home, what's one's best response? Minus 100, right? It's still very risky for her, but she just really can't stand being at home anymore. Person 1 protests, 2 was what? Protest and gets the 10. Person 1 stays home. What does person 2 do? Staying home. All right. What did I actually go to this game? Protest. Do I have to change more than both people to get protest to happen? No, I just have to change one. Only one person has to be fed.
But this is a negative change, right?
Yeah, yeah. I made that. Before that was 0, and I made it a negative 100 more. Now this person really, really is sick and tired of being so much so that she's willing to take the risk of getting shot at. Right? Interesting. Okay, how about the other way? How many people do you have to repress in order to prevent protests? So let's go the other direction. Say I'm a governor or something, I want to stop protests. Do I have to repress every single person?
No.
No. Yeah, you kind of, what? Yeah, yeah.
You only repress the ones who appear to be willing to the leadership.
Right, exactly. Well, I mean, okay, so you could definitely do it by repressing everybody. You can literally put everyone in jail, right? You could do that, right?
That could fall back on you because as they could all together become so sick and tired of staying at
Oh, that's
home
true too.
and
Yeah.
doing
That's
protests.
true. That's true. I guess if you put everyone in jail, they could get together in jail and say. Actually, that's what happens. You know, in South Africa, people said that jail is like the university. That's what they. That's kind of. Okay. Anyway, this is my original game. Okay. What are the national equilibria again? This is my original game. Pro 10, 10, 0, 0, protest, protest, and home. Say I want to get rid of the protest one. Okay. What should I do? How do I eliminate this national equilibrium? Okay, I'm going to change a payoff. What payoff should I change? Well, okay. Yeah, I'm going to change that. Maybe I can make that 10 different, yeah? Okay, so I'll do it another way. Say that I give you a reward for, the regime gives you $15 to stay at home. So they're not going to put you in jail, but they just say, well, you know, I'll buy you a car if you stay at home. You know, or I'll give your mother a job or something like that. Okay? This does happen. Yeah? That's kind of a what?
Don't they do that in Saudi Arabia? Like,
Do
I've heard that before, that like.
No, yeah.
When
Right.
a group forms, they'll just make a deal with the group so that they don't.
Yeah. I think that's true. Yeah, I think that still routinely they give people just cash checks.
Yeah,
Or,
which is how they avoid regimes like other Middle Eastern countries.
Yeah. Okay. So before that was a 0, I'll make it a 15. Okay. All right. So what are the national equilibria here? Person 2 protests. What does 1 want to do? Stay at home, get the 15. Person 2 stays home. What does 1 want to do? Okay.
But if
Get the
person
car.
2 stays home, shouldn't he also get the 15?
Oh, you can bribe both people. Okay, but I'm saying all you have to do is bribe one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's cheaper. Yeah. Protest. Yeah, person 1 protests. What does person 2 want to do? Protest. If person 1 stays home, what does 2 want to do?
So this is the way to frustrate person 2's plans, right?
Exactly right. Person 2 didn't change, but why did person 2's behavior change?
Because they didn't
Yeah,
have
because
support.
exactly.
Because person 1 changed.
Yeah, because person 1 changed, right? Exactly. All we have to do is pay out one person. We don't have to pay out everybody. We could have, right? That would have worked. Yeah. But what if I change person 1? That's enough to affect person 2. And now the only national goodness is the adult state. Yeah.
Can you explain why 10-10 wouldn't be? I really don't.
Okay, so before this was a 0, right? Not,
10-10?
no, in the original game, this 15 was a 0. Okay. Now it's a 15. One person to protest, one's choosing between what? 10 and 15, right?
Yes, sir.
So he'd want to choose 15. So that's why, when this was a 0, we'd underline the 10.
Would this be strongly dominated? Just saying no.
That's a good question. Is staying home for person one strongly dominated? Is the definition. So what's the definition? One staying home strongly dominates protesting if the payoff from staying home. Yeah. The payoff from staying home is greater than the payoff from protesting, regardless of what 2 does. 15 better than 10. 15 better than 10. Any questions? You don't have to pay off everybody. Okay, what if I try to punish somebody? Okay, what if I say person one, your mother will be sent to prison if you show up as protest? Yeah, I could punish everybody. I'm just going to punish one person. Okay, so before this is a 10, and this is a 0. Sorry, before this is a 10, this is a minus 100. So I'm going to make them decrease both by 50. So this is 10 minus 50, which is minus 3. This is a minus 100, minus 50, so it's minus 100. So if you protest, you're going to send your mother to prison, that's you're going to make your payoff decrease by 50. Or the national liberty here. Okay, just stay home, let's just do the underlines if you want to. Person 2 protests, 1 will stay at home. Person 2 stays at home, 1 will stay at home. Okay, person 1 protests, 2 will protest. Person 1 stays at home, 2 stays at home. Again. We didn't change 2's payoffs, but why does 2's behavior change? Yeah, because person 1 changed. Okay? Okay. Make sense? No, you only have to correct one person. So, make sense? All right. So we have 2 methods for making prediction in this 3D form game. Okay. Oh, what are they? 2 methods? Bit of elimination and strongly weak dominated strategies. And then the second one was mashup. Are we done? No? Okay, yes.
Shouldn't there be the possibility where the dictator goes too far and blows up in this thing?
Yeah, that would be, we could do a different model. Yeah, there are models like that. But that would be more complicated. Yeah. Okay, are we done? Yes? No, we're never done. Okay, let me show you a clip. Okay, do you have time? Let me see. Yeah, we have time. Let's do this. Let's do this. We're never done. I'll show you this, then we'll quit. This is Korea versus Spain, 1992 or 2002. He just retired from Manchester United. It's Park Ji-sung Park. Okay. You get the idea. Okay, well, let's see you next time.